the Golf Channel, leading global provider of innovative golf entertainment and information. Devoted to the sport of golf 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The best source for golf on television. It is considered by many to be the smoothest and most rhythmic golf swing of all time. A swing that led Sam Snead to over 130 worldwide wins, including more than 80 PGA Tour victories. A swing that stood the test of time.
If you looked at Sam's swing in his grace and his power, you probably had to give him the nod. He probably had the best swing that there ever was.
You would be totally ignorant if you didn't pick Sam Snead as having one of the greatest swings of all time.
As far as a pretty swing and rhythm, though, I don't think that anybody matched Sam Snead. I remember when I was 16 years old playing with Sam, and I played an exhibition with him in the middle of the Ohio Open. I played the first 2 rounds and shot 146 the first 2 rounds. And I went on a Friday afternoon of the tournament to play an exhibition with him. I played, went back the next day and copied his rhythm and shot 64. But Sam had that kind of a thing to mystique for him. You know, he just sort of, he wanted to copy it because it was so pretty and it was so perfect.
Snead started playing golf at the age of 7 and turned professional in 1934. His first triumph in a tour event occurred in 1936 at the West Virginia PGA. His last came in the 1965 Greater Greensboro Open, where Snead became the oldest player to ever win a PGA Tour event, 52 years, 10 months, and 8 days. In 1977, Slammin' Sammy became the first tour player to shoot his age or better by firing rounds of 67 and 66 at age 67 in the Quad Cities Open. In 1983, at age 71, Snead, his swing still outlasting Father Time, carded a course record 60 at the Lower Cascades Golf Course in Hot Springs, Virginia.
Well, I don't think there's any question in my mind that Sam Snead had the greatest golf swing of any human being that ever lived.
If I had a youngster today and I wanted him to learn the golf swings and the mechanics of the golf swings, I would show him films of Sam Snead.
Rhythmic, supple, mechanically sound. All trademarks of the Sam Snead swing, even at age 84. Jim McLean has studied the swings of many of the greats, including Sam Snead, Ben Hogan, and Byron Nelson. He has fine-tuned his teaching skills under the tutelage of some of the game's finest instructors, Ken Venturi, Claude Harmon, Al Mengert, and Jackie Burke. Soaking up all that knowledge has led McLean to the top of his profession. The owner of the Jim McLean Golf Schools, McLean has worked with many of golf's finest players, including Tom Kite, Peter Jacobson, Brad Faxon, and Lieselot Neumann. An advisor on the Golf Channel Academy, McLean's theories can be read monthly in Golf Magazine. He has authored several books and has hosted numerous home videos. Now watch as one of golf's greatest instructors teams with Sam Snead, possessor of what most people consider is the greatest swing in the history of golf, in a swing for a lifetime.
This is where it all began for Sam Snead, the homestead in Hot Springs, Virginia. Hi, I'm Jim McLean, and this, of course, is the legendary Sam Snead.
Thanks, Jim. You know, I caddied here. And then I got the job as pro over at the Upper Cascades. And after that, I moved on to the Greenbrier, where I'm still affiliated with.
Our goal in this video is to show you what most experts would consider the greatest swing in the history of golf. Now, anybody that's played any golf knows the name Sam Snead. When you think of Sam Snead in golf, you might think of Babe Ruth in baseball. Sam has reached that type of mythical proportions in the game. We're going to look at Sam Snead's swing in his prime years, which most people have never had the opportunity to look at. We're going to look at it from different views, different angles, and at different speeds. When you place your hands on the golf club, what did you try to do with your hands, and can you show us how you placed your hands on the club and maybe how tight you held the golf club?
Well, my hands are more or less, I'm walking there like that, and all that, and it just automatic just come together. But I tried to have the same pressure with both hands.
Okay.
Light, very light as I can, so that I don't lose the club. After all, that's where your wrist snap. That's where you get the speed. Club head speed is distance, but being strong with club head speed, boy, is awesome.
Well, we see a lot of amateur players that hold the club up too high in their left palm, and we call that a weak grip.
Oh, it is.
So
well,
you
usually come up the butt of the hand. That's the butt of the hand. It's up on top. Other words, you can hold the club in there with 2 fingers. Now, if you let it slide up into your hand there, well, then that means you're letting loose the club. And more times than not, the face is always open through the ball.
Did you have a little separation between your left forefinger and the middle finger of your left hand? Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Now, a lot of people don't talk about that or don't think about that. They always talk about the trigger in the right hand, but there's also a little trigger in the left
well,
hand.
of course, now some of them use the interlocking.
Yeah.
So, now watch this. Now there's the interlocking. Watch this.
Almost the
This
same.
way, you 2 fingers are gripping each other. This way, you have all the fingers on with your left hand. A few of the guys on the tour use interlocking, especially guys with small hands. I don't know why, but but big hands, no. Harry Varden was the first one to start that called a Varden grip.
Right.
That is the overlap. He had huge hands, huge fingers.
Put your hands on there again, Sam. One interesting thing to look at is that these 3 knuckles line up in a great grip, as yours do right here, so that your hands are really unified together. And then this right forefinger is a trigger.
That's a
and
trigger.
that club
That's right.
fits right in that
Right.
little
Well, the reason
area
for
right
that
there.
is that keeps the club from coming up into the web of your finger or coming out here,
Right.
which you could do very easily in the right hand. But that it's like you just set it up there and
There's a little feel
But
there.
you never put your thumb on top of the club.
Now, a lot of people will do that. They'll put the right thumb on top of the club. We need it just off to the side, which forms a little curve right here in your
Well, not
thumb.
only this, that stops you from having a good break at the top. Now, this way, see the difference there?
Yes.
That it never hinders. But if you have your thumb on the shaft, your invariable will throw it with that thumb on.
So that thumb is not on tight. It
No.
just sort of lays on the
Just
side of the club.
on the side of the club.
And
That's
this
just
V should point where?
over your right shoulder. Both V's over your
Both
right shoulder.
V's, okay. So that you'd like those V's working together.
Right.
So they look comparable as you place your hands
It's
on
always
the golf
in the
club.
fingers of the right hand.
Yeah.
Never up in the palm. Because if you get in your palm, then the elasticity has gone.
So
I've
how
run into
important
that.
do you feel the grip is in the golf swing? Where do you place that?
That's
placing the
everything.
hands? Okay, Sam, there's a couple other little details that I see here on your grip, and that would be the little gap between your right forefinger and your right middle finger, and also the gap between your left forefinger and your left middle finger. We call that a little bit of a trigger. Could you talk to me about that?
Well, now you notice my forefinger is a little head. That gives me a little bit more a grip on the club. Now, in placing my little finger over that, there's room for my little finger. Now, if you notice, my forefinger of my right hand is the head of the next finger. Now, that too gives me a little better grip and a little better feel. At no time do you ever put the thumb on top of the shaft. You get that kind of a grip, and brother, you can go to town.
One last thing here. I like the idea of getting the thumb off the top of the club because I do see a lot of people put it up there on top. It's a very bad place for it to be. So just off to the side here.
Right.
But if you take this hand off, I notice you have what we would call a short left thumb. We also would have a long left thumb that we advocate for some people who have too long of a swing. This grip allows you to get a full wrist cock at the top of the swing,
Right.
though. Let's talk about stance, posture, your address position, how you place your feet on the ground. Let's start with the feet first. Where was the pressure in your feet? Was it on the inside of your feet, in the middle of your feet, and which direction did you have your toes?
Well, I tell you, it's so important. I used to play golf when I was a kid, and my bare feet, we'd play out in the cow pasture, hold down one end, one the other. Of course, the cows are in there, and they were leaving things all over the place. Those were hazards. So you got into that, where you have to rake it out and go ahead and play. And this came about at Augusta, and Fred Cochran said, Snead can play barefooted. And a lot of guys says, you kidding? He said, break all your toes. He can't play. And Freddie came after me. I said, Freddie, we are at Augusta. I said, oh boy, I don't think that'd go over very well. He says, you gonna make me out a liar? This, that, and the other. Well, I had to go play 2 holes, first hole and the 9th hole.
Barefooted.
Barefoot. I birdied the first and rimmed out for birdie on the 9th.
Now, what did that do for you playing?
Well, you turn your toes up, so you pivot on the inside of your feet. Your toes never, they were up free. And that gave you so much, balance was so great.
So at address, you could almost have your toes up in the air.
Yep.
So your weight would be more on the balls of the feet and
ball
back.
in the heel.
Never out on the toes.
No.
Worst place for it
No,
to be.
that's right.
Okay, great. And then also maybe some inside pressure on the feet as opposed to the outside.
Right.
Okay. Now, footwork again going into the backswing. When you made the move into the backswing, we'll just stay with the footwork. Did you feel that you had a little pressure off your instep? I know with your driver you lifted your heel,
Yeah.
as did most great players.
I braced against my right leg. You see, at the top of the backswing, I'm braced against that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you slide over,
So your weight's
if your
going to
hip
the
goes
outside
the
of
other,
it, yeah.
then you will spin out almost every time.
How much weight went into your back leg in a full shot, say a long iron to a driver?
Well, I'd go from, say, my heel came up a little bit with a 3, 2, 1, and then the woods, more so with the drive.
Did you sense that, 70, 80, 90% of weight goes into your right leg?
Well,
How did
when
you
you're
feel
that young, you can move pretty well, and I got everything behind it. I mean, my shoulder came past my chin, and that gave me a little bit more firepower in pulling down, gave me club head speed.
So as long as you stayed braced on that right leg, kept your weight from going to the outside of your right foot, you could make a massive move into
You
your
could
back
really,
leg.
really turn.
Okay, that's very interesting.
That's most important. You watch all your big hitters, and most of them, that's where they are.
Now, there's some controversy with the left heel. Should it come off the ground or should it stay down the ground? Some of the modern players are keeping the heel on the ground. Not all of them, but some of them are. How do you feel about the left heel staying on the ground in the backswing, and also very little movement of the left leg? What are the positives and negatives?
Well, it comes in a little bit because that hip's got to turn. If you keep it out here and your hip can't turn. Guys that keep it on the ground are usually over 6 feet.
Okay.
But the guys under 6 feet, usually that left heel will come up.
And why
if they
is
have
that?
a full swing.
Why?
Well, you have less to move. See, the shorter you go, well, of course, the more he has to turn, but he's short and compact and everything's together. But a guy over that, well, you know, he can
Just
move.
gets too much away from him.
There's too much movement, and he gets out. Usually, will get out of kilter. He's not in shape to get back to the ball.
Okay. All right, let's talk about the right leg a little bit more. Now, as you went into your backswing, your right leg straightened. So it didn't lock, but
No.
it straightened. It didn't stay absolutely dead flexed.
No.
Could you talk to me about your right leg action in your backswing?
Well, actually, if you go back against, say, I'll have to demonstrate. If you go back with your right leg stiff like that, well, now that's got to break sometime, right. and then when your swing starts down, but it's too late now to break. You'll be a puller.
So your right knee moved in the swing, but didn't lock.
No,
in the backswing.
Never locked. You don't do anything with your legs locked.
As we look at the shoulders and your upper body, your head, as you turn back, your head turned or rotated to the right. It didn't stay absolutely in one spot. There was some rotation. Were you aware of that?
Well, I tell you, will help some people. They don't realize that. Now, when I make my forward press, I unconsciously move that head back. Now, when you move your head back that way, then you can get a better
it allows
shoulder
you to
turn.
Sure.
But if a lot of people keep their look at it with their right arm here, but see, he
turn
can't
the
go into
shoulders,
front.
right.
So there, it relaxes you, and you can move. And chances are, if you're just looking straight at the ball, you're not moving your shoulder very far. So you're losing a lot of power.
Okay, now Sid, you're looking straight at the ball as sort of being a negative. How do you look at the ball?
I look at it over like I'm looking at with my left eye. Now, Jones did that. I didn't know he did. Nicholas does that. If you watch him, he'll turn that head. And Jones did that. He had to turn his head.
There are not many players who can keep their head steady and play good golf. I mean, it has to have some rotation so
That's
you
right.
can turn the shoulders.
It
and
can
complete.
turn this way, but it don't go up and down.
Right.
That's the whole thing. A lot of people come down and then they start coming up like that, and they're looking, see the ball before they strike the ball.
Anything else with your head movements or your shoulder turn, as you were, any keys you might have had on your backswing? Did you try to stay level? Did you try to allow the chin to move, or could you just tell me anything else you might have thought of with shoulders or head?
Well, I've looked at a lot of pictures, and my head didn't go up and down at all till after I struck the ball. That head stayed right there. You can see it with the backdrop.
Sure.
And it stays right there. It don't move over here and it don't move over there.
Yeah.
It stays right behind that ball, right where it's supposed to be. And you come down and you strike that ball, and that head is still, a lot of times my head is like that.
Even back a little bit more than it addressed.
Yep.
Yeah. You know, Sam, everyone has admired your great tempo and rhythm of your golf swing, but I don't think most people realize that a lot of that begins right here at the start of the backswing and the little waggle and forward press.
That's right. Well, Jim, I learned a long time ago, I was a pitcher. You sort of get in motion to throw, and the same way is to get in motion for a backswing. Now, I set the club to the ball and look down to see where I must go. Then I fix my feet to that alignment, and now all I do now, I do a little waggle like that too, and I come back to the ball, push down, see my forward press, that's called, just move slightly. Now that's the start. All goes together. It's a one-piece swing.
Okay, Sam. Now, let's just talk about this in a little more in detail. What about your waggle? Tell me a little bit more about how you move the club back and forth.
Well, I have a very light grip. That's a must. You must have a light grip. A real strong, well, you would be going back and forth and getting tighter all the time. This is very relaxing. Just imagine, come back, set to the a little forward press, and then I take it away. I don't see how people play well that set the club and just stay there, stay there, stay there. It looks to me like when they get under the heat, that it'd be a jerk back. He's going this way, or the club may go and he don't. But the waggle, a little forward press, is the best way I know how to get started off in a one-piece swing.
Well, this seems like a great way to sort of ignite the swing or get it going, and it's actually what you're talking about. It's a little move forward and
Yes.
then a little rebound
Right,
back.
right.
It's a little rhythm right there.
That's it.
The other thing that I see people do is snatch that club away, I think from that dead start. So here's a little drill that you can use at home that'll give you the feeling of the one-piece takeaway, and that is to grip down on the golf club, down to the steel, so the butt end of the club, the grip end comes almost to your stomach area, and then get that little feeling in your feet and feel everything start away together. And if you get it away together, then the club will stay between your arms. If you feel this or see this where the club comes right out of center, you know you've snatched the club away and used the hands too much or too soon in the golf swing. Now, a lot of your success has come from tremendous footwork. Let's talk about how you use your feet in the backswing and how you coil into the backswing action.
Well, you know, to start with, actually good players play from the waist up, and great players play from the feet up. The feet and legs move the body, and it's like you hit a punch. When you behind it and you hit with your weight behind it, then you get some action. And the golf swing is exactly the same. The top of my backswing, my body is back is behind that ball, right there. But if I didn't move off of my foot, I could only get to here, and that would cut it down considerable.
Well, Sam, now you're talking about your left heel and your left foot. Do you feel some push off your instep here? And I see that you do raise your heel. Could you talk to me a little bit more about that?
Well, when I do my forward press and start back, I pivot on the inside of my left foot. That helps me to get my hip, body, shoulder, and everything behind the ball.
Another serious mistake is what I call the right leg lockup, where it actually locks. And sometimes you'll see people do that. I know your knee moves and straightens to some degree, but it doesn't lock.
You can't do anything with your legs locked. You couldn't walk with your legs like you bend and you jump and you run. You're always, knees are always flexed. Now it looks like it is, but I can get off of it quick. But if I went back and locked that leg like that, I start down, this right leg will not release me in time to get the swing, to beat the swing in.
All right, let's talk a little bit more about the top of the backswing position. Could you take it all the way up to the top?
All the way up.
Okay, and when we get up into this position, we like to get this club face pretty near square. I know you've talked to us about that. This would be really open when the left wrist cups,
yes.
And this would be really closed.
That's right.
What ideas have you used in your career to work on club face position and shaft location at the top of the backswing?
If you want a good training is like this: cock it up here and then put it up there. You'd be surprised how much better you will swing the club. Cock your wrist up like that a few times in practice. Try that. And see, it'll come right in the position where the club can come right down the line that you want the ball to go.
Now, you're not getting the club back as far as you used to, but you still get it back quite a ways. Well, how do you feel about the length of the backswing? Parallel, a little bit past parallel when you were younger?
Well,
now a
actually,
little short.
I like it. I felt like I was the strongest when I was a wee bit past parallel, but I would think most people could get it parallel. That's good enough, because then you have a full cock of the wrist. That's the most important thing, is the cock of the wrist, where then it comes down, and when you get in this position, the right comes in.
All right, so when we're talking about the backswing, a couple things that you could do at home. Practice in front of a mirror. Take your full backswing and make sure that you get the club pointed down the target line. That would be with your thumbs pretty much underneath the shaft. You can also turn around and face the mirror, maybe put a strip of tape on the mirror and make sure that you're getting back behind the golf ball. Now, Sam, we were talking earlier and you mentioned the face or head position, so your head was up enough so that your left shoulder could get
Right.
behind
Right.
the golf ball.
Right, right.
Could you just talk about that for a moment?
Well, I can't turn as much as I used to, but my left shoulder came under and past my chin, almost got it there.
Yeah.
And boy, I tell you, when you can get up there, you can whack it.
Now, another thing that's helpful for the weekend player is to realize that we must not put our head down so our chin gets down. And what happens when we see that
Well,
problem?
if the chin is down here, there's no place for your shoulder to go. Your head must go with it. Now, if you notice, my chin is out, and when I do the turn, the shoulder can go back past the ball, and also it used to go past my chin also, but when you get up there, you're not quite as agile as you were.
Well, when you were younger, as you said, this shoulder passed under your left shoulder, and you
Yes.
made more than a 90-degree shoulder turn.
Right, I sure did. If you want a little bit more distance, just make sure that shoulder comes back. That's the power that you get down to bottom.
So if we just give this a little bit of a synopsis, and that would be the head is going to shift or turn a little bit to the right in the backswing as you load your weight
Right.
into the back foot. It'll come back to its original position or a little bit behind that position,
right.
never in front,
No.
which
Never
would
in
be a very bad mistake. But then after you hit the ball, the eyes and head release
That's
and
right.
look at the target at the finish
That's
of the
right.
golf swing. Now let's talk about the transition, the start down, probably the most important move in golf, how you start the downswing. Could you
Well,
tell us?
actually, when you get to top the backswing, what starts first is that left. You start to pull.
With this?
No.
The knee, the shoulder, the side?
Yeah. Well, then the weight just starts to transfer, but you're pulling, and that pulls. If you stay like that, well, then you're behind the ball, and your body never gets on the left side.
Now, did you feel the pull in the arm?
Yeah.
And do you think that pull came from the good lower body action you had, the shifting and the rotation?
Well,
of your
it all
body?
has to work together.
Because there are a lot of people we see who would interpret pulling the club down. They would just keep their body still and actually jerk the arm down or pull the arm down. Now you're not talking about that.
Now, I can remember I couldn't wear a lot of shirts because when I stretched with that left up here, it would grab me here, and so that means that arm is up, and that's the first I start to pull, and that goes into the left heel. The heel goes down on the ground.
Did you ever feel like the heel was the first thing that came down?
Yes.
Yeah. Did you ever feel that you pushed off your right foot?
Well, I did, but man, I've done it so many times I don't think about that.
Now, one real unique thing about the Sam Snead swing is the leg action as we start down. And we talk about it as almost a little bowing action, like the left leg is leaving or the right leg almost appears to stay in place. Because it straightens out a little bit, it looks to me, in studying your swing, that it might be pushing almost outward a little bit.
They call that, some of them call it the Snead squat.
Yeah, or the sit-down action that we talk about.
But I stayed in there. You had to, well, I was pretty flexible, and that helps a whole lot.
As you start down, we see this separation of the knees as you start down. And that must be some of the left side moving.
Well, this leg came over a lot.
A lot. Your left leg
But
came over a
then
lot.
it went that way,
Right.
and then it followed my swing. Of course, I guess being agile helped an awful lot. A guy that's not agile couldn't do that.
Did you ever feel in your swing the middle of your body, the center of your body, leading the action, or was it mostly upper body for you?
I
starting to-
concentrate more with my arms and hands rather than anything else. On the you swing up and then you pull down.
So
it's
swing
just-
up
and pull,
pull
down.
down.
You see how now?
Yeah.
See how and your wrist come in here, cocked here, and then.
Again, going back to the transition, when you're starting down with that great move, your head would stay centered or even go a little bit back.
Yeah.
Did you ever think about that, or why does that happen?
Well, usually when you come down here and your head starts to come up and move forward, it's going somewhere else. But if that head goes there, normally your swing stays in gear pretty well.
Now, when you were trying to pull the golf club or feel, let's say, feel that pull, wasn't there some danger of pulling too much or hanging on to it? What made you not block it or hang on to it?
Well, like a baseball, a man is not going to hit the ball like this. It's going to, if your wrists are working, you pull down, but when you pull into position, the right comes in right behind it. And your right can't move any faster than your left will let it.
Well, we do see a lot of people go in and block the ball.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
hanging on
Oh,
to it.
that's
So that's
bad.
too tight here?
Oh,
or-
yeah. Well, that's right. He's afraid he's going left, probably, and trying to hold it out.
Or too much tension in the
That's-
left arm?
Well, that's called tension.
What kind of tension level did you have in your shoulders, your elbow, your arm?
My arm stayed straight, but not rigid.
I think that's critical, isn't it?
And that
that's
there's
even when
two
you
things
started
now.
down.
If you're too rigid, something's not working. Will work. The wrist won't pop at the bottom if you're too rigid.
Now we talked about everything starting away together. It's possible if you're too tight with your left arm to overextend, to get too long on your backswing, and then we also see many of the high handicappers collapse.
Yeah.
So any tips on
Well, we
keeping
call
the
that
width?
two fulcrums when the wrist breaks and the elbow breaks.
Right.
We call that the two fulcrums. And now you got to straighten this eventually, but why not just have it where you only have one, and that's at the wrist.
Now let's focus on the change of direction, the transition from the top of the backswing down. This is probably the most important move in golf because we do see people with a slightly closed club face or an open club face on the PGA Tour who fix that move or that position by making a great move into the golf shot. So Sam, could you give me some of your ideas on how you change direction, what starts down first, and how you do it?
Right. Well, Jim, after dressing the ball, and then my forward press, I get up top the backswing, my foot comes up off the ground. My first move is start to pull down with the left, heel goes on the ground, and my club is in this position when you strike the ball.
Now, Sam, could you talk to me about your image of going up and down on the same track?
Okay, now you try to get the club to up and down the same track that you take it back. If you can do that, brother, you have a golf swing.
Okay, another thing that I'd like you to discuss is swinging the heavy club and what that's done for you to allow you to feel the club face positioning.
Well, I tell you, I was hooking the ball a little too much, and I picked up it's an exercise club, very heavy. You can't hit a golf ball anywhere with it. And I started swinging the golf club, and as I got down here, I noticed my right hand was crossing over too quick, and that was where the hook was coming from. So now I squeeze a little bit tighter with my last two fingers to the left. That kept the club head from going over too quick, and when it got into there, it was in good position. And I walked right out of there and went in and hit some balls, and that took care of everything.
Well, now that's a great drill. Sometimes with the heavy golf club and a slow swing, you can feel mistakes much easier. and that would be a terrific thing for you to practice at home. Now here's another drill that I've had a lot of success with at our golf schools, and that would be Sam going up to the top and stopping and then just practicing the first move down, and that would be our little shift and our little move down, just down about halfway down.
Right. You wouldn't think that happened that way, but it happens so fast. When you get to here from there, then you don't see it.
Now if you get into this position with the club pretty much in line with your hands, you're in great shape.
You're in shape.
Now if we see that club dropping too far to the inside this way, that's going to put us on an inside-out swing.
That's right.
Too far. But most people tend to start out with their right shoulder, the hands get out, and the club gets outside their hands right here.
That's anxious. You want to get at it.
That's right.
So you got to take your time and start that club on the line that you want that ball to go on.
When you start too quick with your hands, you throw the golf club or start out with your right shoulder, the only way you can get to the golf ball is across it, swiping across, which will produce a bad slice.
And people wonder why they slice.
Yeah. So I think that would be a terrific drill. It's called a little pump drill. I've always seen Tom Watson practice this incessantly, where he'd go up to the top and start down. Sam, you've seen him do that.
Yes.
That would be a terrific drill to practice the move into the golf ball. Let's talk about impact with a full shot. You're coming back into impact. Were you ever aware? Did you ever think about where you were, what you'd do?
I'll tell you two things down at the moment of contact. Now, if the hand gets up here,
arched,
this arched up here, then the right hand's going to do a whole lot of business. Mm-hmm. But if that left hand's got it here where it don't let the right hand get over.
So we're talking about returning that shaft back to pretty much its
you'd be surprised how much backspin you can get with that left arm, not letting the right cross over the right. Now this is backspin. This you're trying to set it in, but hitting a driver it comes down here, but it stays down. It don't ever go this way. It stays down here.
Okay. Now when you get to impact, how much weight on a full, let's talk about a full golf swing, as you come into the ball, how much weight is back into the left leg? Or
most of it.
Most of your weight. So
it's over there. The right foot then is just a prop.
Okay.
It's almost the same way going back with a whole driver. You're on your right foot, but braced against it. But your weight shifted actually right behind the ball.
You almost looked like you barreled right through the golf ball when you were playing. It's just so tremendous.
That's right.
Were there any things that you worked on to improve that as you got better as a player? Or is it just something?
Well, as you go along, you learn. I guess there's nothing better than good teacher in yourself.
Yeah.
Said I can do that, and I know what it takes to do that. You shut your eyes and feel it.
Mm-hmm. Sam, let's talk about the finish of the golf swing, going through all the way to a complete finish. Now, a lot of weekend players don't feel that that's very important, but I'd like to get your thoughts on it.
Finish is so important. That keeps you on balance, and when you're swinging, trying to hit it so hard and you're falling all over the lot, chances are you're not hitting very good shots.
I've also noticed that a lot of times we'll tell the amateur to just work on his finish, and if he goes to a good finish, that's his main thought. other things go away? They get a lot better without thinking about it.
Well, that too, but I think the best key I've ever run into is try to make the club come back to where it started from. You'd be surprised how much that'll help your shot making. One thing is for sure, if you grip the club tight, you cannot get much club head speed. I don't care how strong you are. But if your wrists are flexible where it snaps, you see that comes down, it snaps. Well, that's where you get the club head speed, is the pull down plus the snap at the golf ball. So don't squeeze the club too tight. I've seen people squeeze it so tight it looks like the sawdust coming out the end.
You know, some people, Sam, will start with the club light at address, but then they tighten
They grab
up here.
it up there. Well, that's a bad habit. That's a habit. I got a good friend that does the same thing. Grips the club. I said, look, if you would just barely have your hand on there and let it go with your left hand, you no telling how far you could hit it.
Now,
but it's a chore. Golf is not the easiest game to play.
Now, once you've gone through this golf shot and released it, what about the finish? And how important do you feel the actual finish of the golf swing is?
Well, chances are, if you don't finish well, you're either back that way or you're over here. Now, your body's not in sync with your swing. Your body swings your arms back and you stay right there and let it continue. Watch all the players today, the good players, it's rhythm. That's what I go by. Now watch, I'll hit this now. I feel like I'll hit this in rhythm.
Now you can hold that finish easily.
I can stay there all day if I had the swings.
Well, you know, you hit on some tremendous points there, Sam, and getting that speed through the golf ball is terrific. One drill that we use is to turn the club upside down and feel that swish or hear the swish as you go through. And you can do that with one hand and get a nice swishing action and really get that club moving. Now, another great drill is to just practice hitting shots on the range and going all the way through to your finish, and then hold that finish until the golf ball actually strikes the ground. You'll be surprised. It seems like it takes a long time, but it's only a couple of seconds. But that's a great habit to get into. So, as Sam said, practice going into a good finish position, hold your position, and stay in balance. You've made a comment that good players play from the waist up and great players play from the feet up.
That's true.
Why do you say that?
Well, the legs have a very important part, especially in long shots. And short shots, you can stand on one foot. I keep most of my weight on my left anyway on a real short shot. I don't transfer at all.
Mm-hmm. But on a full shot, the great players that you've watched
Yes.
and played with had great footwork.
Right.
Okay. Now, let's talk a little bit about intentional hooks and intentional slices.
Well, if I have to play a hook, I don't change it. Long shots, always drew my right foot back just a wee bit. And of course, then if I try to hit a fade, I always opened up a little bit, because then you want to cut across the ball. It's hard to do that with your feet in reverse, because then you don't get over quick enough to get the spin on the ball. And same way with hooking. If I have to hit what they call a coat hanger, then I draw my right foot way back so I can come from the inside out and put more spin on the ball, which makes it hook more.
Now, on your driver swing, you said you always would drop your right foot back
Just
a
a wee
little
bit.
bit. Now, why did you do that?
That gave me more room to turn. I have a good friend, and he stands with his driving feet not too wide apart. And I told him, I said, Chuck, if you pull that right foot back, that allows your body to turn more, you'll hit the ball further. Wouldn't you like that? Yeah. But fellow says, you know, some can chew gum and walk, and some can't.
That's right. Yeah. What shot did you play through your career? What was your best shot?
I thought my wedge. Of course, now, there again, that takes practice.
Now, how did you work on your wedge game? Did you spend a lot of time with it?
I practice and practice. 50 yards. I practice 50 yards, 100 yards to this day. You can tell me, and I could shut my eyes. I want a 50-yard shot. Now I want a 100-yard shot. Now I want a 150-yard shot.
And another thing that most people wouldn't know is that you played your shots off the fairway with a pitching wedge. You didn't use a sand wedge.
Well, with the sand wedge, it's made for sand. It has a bounce on the back of the bottom of the blade, and that keeps the front part from going deep into the ground. Now, I just say, well, he's got a sand iron. He's got a sand. Well, you can put a lot of spin with a pitching wedge.
Did you open the wedge up for those high shots?
It depends on, yes, with a high shot, sure. But I felt that you're taking a good chance if the ground is hard. The fairways are hard with a sand iron.
Did you have an image of the arc of the golf swing that you used yourself? Did you have a feeling there was a slot that you swung the club through your hands?
Well, I always felt if I could get the club up and down the same track, that is the key. If you up and down, retrace the upswing.
And what about on the way through?
Well, it'll go through there on its own.
Back on that same.
Yes, unless you're trying to hit a punch shot or something like that.
But
if you hit a normal shot, it'll go right up there.
And if you use your simple concept of kind of the shoulder to the shoulder, ear to ear concept, then you're going to have that same circle in the swing. Sam, let's take a look at the setup position. And everything, of course, starts with a great setup. And nobody set up better to the ball than you did. Can you take us through the setup?
Well, in first place, the weight's evenly bounced on both feet. And if you'll notice, my left arm and club is in a straight line to the ball. Now, that is where the arc starts. Now, as the club sets there, then I do a waggle. Now, this waggle, then a forward press. Well, that is, I call it the starter. So it's a one-piece swing away from the ball, and on the way back.
Well, let's go ahead. We'll start the club away. You have a very noticeable forward press that gets you started, and stop it right there. Now, this is what we're talking about when we look at your takeaway, the one-piece takeaway. And can you tell us how you started that golf club away, and that really allowed you to get off to this smooth start on every swing?
Well, it's very difficult if you just start from scratch, but if you have a little forward press, it's all done. It's no, you must continue. It's a little forward press, and the weight sort of shifts to the right side. But now the one-piece swing takes it back and all the way up. And
okay, well, let's take it from the first stages of the swing, this first initial step into the halfway position, halfway back, right there. Now, the halfway back position, I think with all teachers, is one of the key checkpoint positions, but I think we've been looking at that probably for 400 years. Tell us a little bit of this halfway position back, the club face positioning, and where your weight might be right here.
Well, now, if you'll notice, the right leg is straight but not stiff. Never go back into the joint. What do you call a lock joint?
Yeah, locking that right leg.
Now, the turn will start, the left knee will start to move over, and my shoulder will start to turn under.
Right.
And that will give you a full arc to the top of the backswing.
Right here, you've maintained a nice left arm. The right arm is just starting to bend right about here, and you're just starting to allow the hands to break.
Well, that's a breaking point. because you could not keep both straight and get to the top of the backswing. The right must break as it does when you go through on the follow through.
All right, let's go through just a little bit further, about to the 3/4 position. Now right here, we see that you've, even at this point, you've gotten behind the ball pretty well. I think most of your weight by this point is into that right leg, and you've now got some wrist break. You almost have an L form between your left arm and the club.
It's just starting to break there.
Yeah.
And now it'll wind all the way back and come to a full cock of the wrist.
Yeah, let's take it all the way to the top. Now here we go to the classic Sam Snead perfect backswing position.
Well, now if you notice, my back and my whole body is behind the ball, but my head has not moved. It stays in that same
But it
position.
has turned. Can you
That's
talk
right.
to me about how that
Well,
head turns?
You must have let your head turn. If you didn't, you wouldn't be able to get your shoulder back. And it's very important if you want power to get the shoulder behind the ball.
Also, this left knee appears to be behind the ball with
Well,
your
that's
full
broken
driver.
now. All that does is a prop. My weight is gone to the right leg, but on the inside.
So you feel it's mostly right in here, your left heel slightly off the ground?
It's up off the ground. Well, to get back there, you must go because you'd put too much strain.
Club pointed
above.
pretty much right at the target, square
Right.
club face?
Right straight at the target.
Beautiful. Okay, let's start down. Now we've got the critical move starting down. And could you sort of in detail tell me what's happening right
Now,
there?
this is what we call the pull down. You start down with the left. When you start to pull, the left heel then goes to the ground. And now the right arm and will straighten up after.
Well,
at the
actually when
strike.
we come right into here, we're seeing that right arm is coming in an
It
elbow very
stays in
close to
in
your
very,
body.
Very close. Stays right
And
there.
the club is still back. You still have quite a bit of angle left here to hit with. A lot of
Right.
stored power.
Now, that is still almost a full cock. It's just getting ready now to start to unwind.
Now, Sam, when you came down, you felt like there was definitely a feeling of some pull in
yeah.
your left side.
Definitely,
Your left.
that left, you feel the left in there. And of course, when you get to the hitting area, then the right goes on over.
And
It's
that's right
done
about here where this is
right
this is
close
happening?
to it now, yes.
Okay, let's bring it down to impact.
See there, where the right arm is still straight, the left shoulder is raised high.
Yeah.
The shoulder must come up. If it comes around too much, then you'd be swinging around your body
At this
and not
point,
through the ball.
most of the weight on the left leg.
It's all my right does right there is a prop.
A prop
just
means
down.
it's just sort of there, most of the weight
That's
in
right.
the left
If
leg.
you didn't have it there, you might fall down.
Okay, let's go through to the about halfway through.
Now you see all the weight has been transferred to the left.
Okay, and the left arm now has stayed very close to your body.
It stays in there close to the body, and then the break, just as if it were going back to maintain the arc. That's the way it has to be.
Okay, let's go up to the finish position. Here we go, the eyes and head have released right to the target.
Right.
Weight now 100% on the left leg, up on your right toe, eyes right at the target, and now we go to that, again, the classic Sam Snead finish where the club is right through the back of your head, about at the eye level,
Right.
and pointed here at the camera.
Dr. Fran Pirazzolo has long been a student of the game. A world-renowned sports psychologist, Pirazzolo has worked with dozens of today's top golfers, as well as athletes from all sports. Chief of the Neuropsychology Service at Baylor College, Pirazzolo has written several books, and has authored many articles on the mental side of golf. Understanding that there is more to golf than just physical skill, Pirazzolo sat down with Snead to discuss the game's mental aspects.
Sam, you had maybe the greatest career of anyone in the history of the PGA, and you won over 100 tournaments around the world. But I don't think that you win all those tournaments with just a good golf swing.
Well, I'll tell you, it helps to have a good golf swing. It all boils down to what you can do with it.
The mental game.
Your concentration is a must, and that is when you do the concentration, is at the moment that you decide to play the shot.
So the mental game was really important.
Well, Fran, I feel my game has done its job. Now it's up to me to be able to hit the shot that I'm coming up to. And I do not start to concentrate until I get to the ball, and I'll look to see what kind of a shot I must play, and that's when concentration takes over. I want to concentrate at the moment, but in between that, say from one shot to the other shot, I try to stay, I learned to do that, to stay at the same keel. And actually, when I see that the shot I'm going to play, all I do is just go up and now I've been practicing and playing all these years to just let it happen.
So you visualized the shot first, and that helped your concentration.
Right, I could see the ball in the air, and if I'm playing a high cut fade in there, well, I can see it all the way, and I just go through the motion.
Okay, and so then you just felt what your body needed to do in order to make the shot.
Right.
Okay, and then after you executed the shot, did you evaluate it, or did you just go to the next shot?
Well, then if I make a good shot, okay. If I make a bad shot, then I said, gee, how'd I do that? But I think concentration is the most important part in sports of anything.
Byron Nelson once told me that the only similarity, other than you being great players, between Ben Hogan, himself, and yourself was the competitive fire, the will to win.
Well, I think you have to have that to win. I don't see anybody say, gee, I want to finish third. I don't care about it. Today, I have heard boys say, all I want to do is make a big check. Oh, I'd like to win, but I'm interested in making a big check. Well, he's not, doesn't have his mind on, I want to win the tournament.
Yeah, it seems like you had so many different coping strategies, so many different ways to handle whatever happened to you, that you were always able to go to the next tournament with kind of a good attitude or a positive outlook.
Well, again, hey, this is a fresh one. I'm ready. And I went out with determination that, hey, they can't beat me.
Also, what impresses me is that you seem to understand that golf is a battle within yourself, more than a battle between players or even with the golf course.
You're right. It's within yourself. And, well, when I was on, I felt like I could beat anybody. I don't care who it was. But if at times you're not on, well, a good amateur could beat you. But that's the way I think everybody has their ups and downs and their best feeling, and somebody, I don't feel like playing and all of that. Well, that comes.
But it seems like a delicate balance here. You had such competitive fire and will to win, and you wanted to beat the competition, yet you understood that it was a battle within yourself. You were just trying to manage yourself rather than manage the golf course.
You're right. That's couldn't be more right.
The key to your good performances then is in part your ability to trust yourself and trust the system that you develop, even though sometimes people criticize your approaches.
Well, I'm the only one that got a hold of the club, and I'm the only one that can get it there or not get it there.
Sam, you tried consciously to regulate your intensity, and we've talked about that. Your attitude was one of, as you've talked about, being cool mad.
Right.
What does that mean?
Cool mad. Well, you get irritated with yourself now and then for playing dumb shots or something like that, but wasn't thinking, what was I thinking about? Gee, what was I thinking about? Well, there again, concentration.
Sam, unlike many people, you didn't set outcome goals like where you wanted to finish on the money list or how many tournaments you wanted to win, but maybe more than anyone else, you set goals about this shot, what you wanted to do right now.
Well, I felt like if I was in shape and my game was in shape, I didn't worry too much about goals. I never thought, well, I'm going to just prepare myself to win the Open or the PGA or the Masters. I was just hoping I would arrive in good shape and playing well. That's the whole thing. I let whatever did happen.
Mm-hmm.
You could make some happen, but to a point, no. I like to feel like, hey, I think I can win this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And from there on, now I'll give you a good example. And they gave me a big part in Greensboro. Ed Sullivan was the speaker. And I'm sitting up at the dais, and he said, wouldn't it be great if Sam could win the 8th Greensboro Open? And when he said that, I just felt like my whole being just raised up a foot or so. And I said to myself, I'm going to give it an extra shot. And by golly, I won by 4. One of the boys, I won't mention his name, said, what's Snead doing there? He can't win tournaments anymore. He can't play with these guys. He said, hey, I thought you said he couldn't win, he couldn't play anymore. Yeah, he said, I guess I was wrong.
So there was something that was always pulling you, that competitive fire, that will to win, that made you set goals on every shot.
Right. Well, for instance, playing with Hogan, I could come up a notch or two playing against him. I knew I had to play well to beat him, and it was always tight, every match we had. But
you knew it was going to be a battle.
Oh, it's going to be a battle, yes. Well, Nelson, same way.
Sam, there's this special state that people talk about, the zone, or in your era they called it the trance.
Never thought about that, never heard of that until here just last few years. He's in the zone. I know when you're going along, everything is going smooth. You feel like you're more relaxed, and your feel is sharper. You see things a little more clear, and just feels like I don't care what I do, it's going to go in. And it's a different feeling when you go out there a little tight and whatnot. Gee, I don't know whether I'm going to make the cut or not. But in the zone, that's something. You don't come in the zone too often.
Sam, so you talked about the elements of the zone being feeling very relaxed, having some sort of heightened awareness of what you were doing, maybe with a club. Did you see the club face on the ball or anything like that? Any special?
Your touch seems to be different. It's lighter, it's smoother, it's easy, and you're at ease, and you just feel like I can do anything with this. I no making a difference what kind of a shot, I can do it.
Well, Sam, it's been a pleasure, and you've been an inspiration to so many golfers, and I appreciate your sharing your insights on the mental game for us.
Thanks, Fran.
Thank you. To say that Sam Snead was the best natural golfer in history is only a half-truth. He worked at developing his game as hard as anyone. Even in his 80s, Sam hits 200 balls a day. He picks them up himself, and he plays 3 rounds a week. Sam's system of playing was based upon an intense will to win. Sam had the ability to leave his mistakes behind and to learn from them. He was courageous enough to follow his instincts. He knew that the only way to consistently achieve was to keep it simple and clear. While other players were trying the latest fad to find the secret to the swing, Sam stuck with a swing and a system that was based upon the recognized need to stay relaxed and focused. So he did nothing fast, nothing that built up tension and pressure. Sam, more than any other player in history, understood that golf is the ultimate battle within yourself. His whole system was based upon mastery over himself.
This is truly a unique opportunity for you to watch and study the swing of Sam Snead. I'd recommend that you watch and rewatch portions of this tape over and over. I know you'll get a lot from it. Sam, I'd just like to thank you from the bottom of my heart for this great opportunity to visit with you and talk to you about your golf swing.
Thanks a lot, Jim. And you folks out there watching this tape, if you have learned just one thing that will help your game, it's well worth watching.
Without question, the greatest repeater of the golf swing and the greatest rhythm in the golf swing was Sam Snead.
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt about the greatest swing of all time going to be Sam Snead.
A natural golf swing. Nobody had one like Sam Snead.
I've always admired his swing. Even as a kid, I've tried to emulate some of his swing, but he's just magnificent with the golf club.
I don't think there's anybody that has ever swung the club any better than Sam.
To me, Arnold Palmer was Picasso. Jack Nicklaus was Van Gogh. Sam Snead is Michelangelo.
In 1912, amidst the Allegheny Mountains of Virginia, an American sports legend was born, a hero who would evolve into one of golf's mythical giants.
I'm the youngest of 6, and he says, "Oh, you got spoiled." I said, "Spoiled? They kicked me like I was a football." And hey, you know, that helps a little bit too. You can take it or else go cry or something or kick him. But I had a nice family. I had a wonderful father and mother, and I dearly loved my brothers and one sister.
We lived out in the country, and my mom and dad raised hogs, and we had chickens and 3 horses. And growing up, Sam and my older brother first had to work on the farm. When hay time, we had to go down there and put up hay, and that was a real chore.
We had all we could eat. We had a big garden at my house. We had all of the meat and chickens and eggs and butter, and only thing we had to go to the store for was coal oil that started a fire, or things that you use to make apple butter and all of those things.
Sam, of course, was 3 years younger, and he had his friends and I had mine. But the only thing we had to do to earn any money was caddy.
Well, I caddied when I was 7, and a boy came by and said, "Let's go over to and caddy, go make some money." And I said, "Okay." I caddied for this lady, and when we'd finished, now it's 2.5 miles to the golf course from home. And then it's 5 miles around the golf course, and then it's 2.5 miles to run back. And that's a lot of miles for a 7-year-old kid and carry a bag. And you know, this woman took me up to the hotel when we finished and filled this little hat of mine of pennies and nickels.
I scratched around to see if I could find a dime, but not quite. Well, I got home. I don't remember to this day going home. I was so excited having this money, and I thought I was the richest kid in the world, and I went running in the house, and I said, "Look, Mom, I'm rich. I'm rich. Look, I got it all for you." Being a kid, we'd play out in the cow pasture, and of course they left their little marks all over. If you got in one, well, then you played it, or else you had to rake it out and lose a shot. But that's how we learned to play, and with hand-me-down clubs.
We'd hunt for a little hickory sapling about 1 inch in diameter, and if it had a crook on it, we'd dig it out. We shave all the bark off of a portion of it, leave about a foot or 10 inches for a grip.
We'd always carry matches and nails. Well, if it broke, you'd just stop, build you a little fire, and put the head in it, so that burnt the wood to the point where you could shake it out. And then we'd cut a hickory stick, of course, a lot of that in the woods, and we'd put it in there, drive a nail through, and go on.
When he first started playing, his Uncle Bud Dudley gave him 3 old Tom Stewart iron heads that had come from old broken hickory clubs, and Dad burned the wood out of the heads, and he went down to the local stable, and they gave him some discarded broken buggy whips. And he drove the buggy whips into the iron heads, and they're real whippy. And he would go out in the fields and play with these things, and you had to coordinate the swing because it was so whippy, so you couldn't rush it from the top. You had to give it a little lag time and wait for the club head to get to the ball and then pop it. And I think to this day that had a lot to do with developing the fluidness in his swing.
He was good in all the sports that he played in. But I think he himself, when he started fooling with the golf clubs, they felt more natural to him than anything else. So he just kept practicing. As far as I know, Sam never had a lesson in his life.
He set records in our high school in football, baseball, track, and basketball that haven't been equal today, have not been equal today. And he was voted All-American in football when he was in high school his senior year. He didn't play that much golf, he just played some, but he hurt his back his senior year, and his coach told him to lay off that summer with any kind of strenuous sports, maybe play a little bit more golf, and then think about going to college the following year maybe. And he started playing so well that the coach said, "Sam, I believe you ought to stick with the golf." So he did, and he was phenomenal. I mean, the strength, the way he could hit it was incredible.
By coming up the way I did, nobody taught me anything, how to grip, how to stand, what to think about, the concentration, or whatever. I had to learn it all the hard way. And I think that helped me more than anything. I was 22 years old when I got the job as club maker at the homestead. And they paid $20 a month. That is from 8 in the morning to 8 at night, 7 days. That wasn't bad money, actually, but it wasn't very good either when you're there every day. But I figured you got to start from someplace, and that would be great to start from the ground up. And Mr. Ingalls, the Ingalls family owned the homestead. He said, "How'd you like to go over at the upper as pro?" And I said, "You kidding?" And he said, "No. I got a sandwich and a bottle of milk as pay." And I'd walk about 1.5 miles every day to the club. And I didn't make any money. I didn't make enough money to pay for my laundry, but I got to practice.
Well, I used to play with him quite a bit on the goat course I was telling you about. I noticed that his swing was getting better all the time. Then I mentioned to him, why don't you try to enter some of these tournaments? Which he did.
I asked Craig Wood and Henry Pickard, we were all sitting around, and I said, what do you think my chances are going on a tour? And he said, you want to know whether you're going to be at home and do teaching or go on the tour? And I said, yes. Tell you what, you go ahead. And said, if you can't make it, I'll let you have money enough to come home on. I said, I'm on my way.
No matter where his blossoming career led him, Sam's heart always remained at home with his dear Audrey.
We were old sweethearts from grade school right through high school. She was a good athlete, played basketball. She was 6 handicap in golf. She was a wonderful mother and a wonderful wife, and we had a great time. 1940, went up on a honeymoon to Niagara Falls and had back in my head I'd go on over and play in the Canadian Open. And she said, okay, and I went over and I won the tournament there on the honeymoon. So that made a nice present. She died 31st of January. She had lived to August 15th. We'd have been married 50 years. She went with me a little when I first started, but then we had the first son, and she took him on some of the tours, and then later she had another Terry, and that was too much, and so she stayed home mostly.
When the youngsters came along, well, that was it. She couldn't go. And I felt sorry for her, and I felt sorry for the other players' wives too, that they just don't want to be traveling all the time.
I'd go home, the kids didn't know me. Well, when you leave, go to California and you start first of the year and don't get home until April, well, that's a long time.
When I was real small, I would see maybe 2 or 3 times in the summer. He would be gone because when they went on tour in those days, they would be gone for 6 weeks, maybe 2 months, because he shared a car a lot of times with 2 or 3 other players. And when he came home, he was almost like a stranger. But I'd try to get the yard mowed, and when he would come home, I'd wash his cars and whatever, trying to make him notice me, I guess.
Sam spent very little time with the 2 kids because he didn't have the time to spend with him. He was out playing, and he would come in, spend maybe 2 or 3 days, and take off for another tournament.
Dad was a famous person, although he didn't really, financially, he didn't make a lot of money, but it was real difficult for me in grade school. A lot of the kids were jealous of his fame, and therefore it was hard on me. And I know I became more humble towards people as I look back on it, trying to get their friendship. And I would give all my toys away, or I would give them this or give them that, just to try to get people to be friendly to me. And I know Mom used to always harp that, she always told me, oh, you know, you're no better than anybody else just because your daddy's well known. And then I played on the golf team, and the pressure would be so great when we would go to a match, because finally I even asked my coach, don't introduce me as Jack Snead. I even used to make up a last name. I'd be Jack Smith or Jack somebody else. It enabled me just to play my own game, but as soon as they know who you are, then they don't want to really beat you, they want to beat the son of Sam Snead.
Mom and Pop both thought that Sam had made a name for himself, but in reality, he wasn't any better than anyone else, which I think is a wonderful way of feeling, but I mean, they were very proud of it.
There's nothing like golf. Nobody, but nobody has ever beaten it. You think you have up to a point, next day, you said, where did it go?
A perennial favorite, Slammin' Sammy Snead.
That was given to me by a man by the name of Duke Ridgely. He was a writer in Charleston, West Virginia. When I first came over here, he called me Slammin' Sammy. I called him country, and he called me clodhopper. But I was hitting him a little longer than the other guys, and he gave me Slammin' Sammy.
Mom said, you know, everybody talks about his natural swing. Well, it wasn't given to him. She said that when he was first turned pro at the Cascades, that when he would get off work in the afternoon, along about 6:30 or 7 o'clock sometimes if he was lucky, he would practice down there until his blisters would bleed. hit so many balls, trying to perfect that swing.
It's funny how things get started. That I had the best swing. I don't know if I had the best swing or not. But you get somebody says, that's it, he's got the best swing, and all of a sudden it picks up from other people to other people. They say, well, blah, 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 and they never saw me even play. But I appreciate it.
I'll never forget when I first saw Sam Snead was at Augusta, Georgia. They were playing the Augusta Country Club. And I saw this fellow from West Virginia, and I said to myself, there's the best swing I've seen in a long time. And I saw Mr. Wilson. I says, I just saw the greatest swinger I've seen in a long time. He says, who's that? I says, a fellow from West Virginia by the name of Sam Jackson Snead. He says, call up Mr. Isley. He was the president of the sporting goods. He says, call up Mr. Isley and hire him right away. We hired him the next day, and he's been with him ever since.
I signed up with Wilson in '37. Well, they were making clubs with my name on. I got a royalty, and they were paying me $5,000 a year. That was a lot of money. When I went in service, they kept paying me the $5,000 a year all the time I was in service. So that made it pretty, I felt pretty close to Wilson. I have ever since.
Sam's professional success led to his partnership with Wilson, but it was his sense of style that landed him the endorsement that would become his trademark.
I started off wearing felt hats, and one day I ran across a straw hat like this, and it's light, and you can put it up, you can see the little holes through it, and it breathes, and it's not as hot as a felt hat or even one of the other caps. And well, it's just been more or less a symbol with me, and I've worn them ever since.
35 years ago, I was an account executive handling the John B. Stetson account when all men, in addition to Sam, wore hats, and we were looking for a personality to endorse our Mallory brand. And I thought Sam might be the ideal guy because he was a good sportsman, and everybody knew him for his hats. And through my friends, I found out that he had no connection with the hat company. And the fellow from Sports Illustrated introduced me to him and had a contract with me, and he signed it right on my back. He said, "Turn around, son, I'll sign that." Great. He used to be quite a tough model because he always had a pigeon waiting for him out on the course, and he was raring to play him. And between shots, he would say, "Hit him, hit him," and that was his way of smiling instead of saying cheese.
I gave President Bush supposed to be giving him a lesson to White House. We were on the lawn, and I said, "Let me see you hit a few of that, Mr. President." And he shanked all of them. I said, "Oh, that's the worst thing can happen is shanks."
This man has won more golf tournaments than any other golfer.
Winning is wonderful. That is the only thing, to win.
No one ever played a sport at a world-class level longer than Sam Snead. The hillbilly slugger burst onto the scene in the early 30s and instantly captivated the golf world. With pure athleticism and a natural aptitude for the game, Sam Snead began to amass a record of incredible length and immeasurable breadth. He set the standards aspired to by even the most gifted players. For 6 decades, Sam competed against golf's greatest. Hogan, Nelson, Palmer, Nicklaus, the finest players of their generations all fell victim to the mastery of Sam Snead. His 81 PGA Tour wins have yet to be approached by any other man. He won both the Masters and the PGA Championship 3 times and was the British Open champion in his only attempt. With 8 titles at the Greensboro Open, he holds the record for the most victories in a single event. And this 4-time Varden Trophy winner and 10-time Ryder Cup participant is the oldest player ever to win on the PGA Tour.
He would never let me win at anything. I mean, if I was 12 years old and we'd shoot pool, he would try everything in his power to beat me. The only thing I could beat him at then was with a bow and arrow. I was a good shot with a bow. And he actually practiced at the Boca Raton Hotel over a period of a summer. He would go to the field and shoot so he got good enough where he thought he could beat me. Never did beat me, but he tried. His own son, you know, once in a while you'd think maybe he would let you win, but not him.
I could play with him, or his wife or whoever play with him. When you got on the tee, he would try to bury you right then. Love went out the window.
I remember one year we were in Detroit, and Mom and myself were there, and we were all staying in the same motel and room together, of course. And when we would leave the course, we would come right straight back to the room, and Dad would have a yardstick on the carpet, and he would practice putting on this yardstick, his stroke, sometimes for an hour, hour and a half, and we never talked golf. So we would eat in the room, and the next morning, bright and early, we were up back at the golf club at the practice tee, and from the practice tee out onto the course, from the course back to the parking lot, to the car, back to the motel, back to the carpet and the yardstick. I mean, that's the way it went.
He's probably the most competitive individual I've ever seen. He has a desire to win in anything he does. He plays hard at it, and he doesn't slack off. He's just an amazing gentleman as far as competitiveness is concerned, and I've known other big-time athletes. I haven't seen as much of that in them as I have in him.
He never gives up. If anything, he's the greatest person to have on your side as a partner in any kind of, I don't care if you'd rather be golf, hunting, even if you went to a football game together. I mean, he's always in there. He's always there at the last second. He's the last one to leave the river when we go fishing. You know, he's the last one to complain about being too cold. But he just has this desire that I've never seen anybody. He never gives up. I mean, he could be shooting 85 on the golf course, and he's still trying to make that last putt, you know, as if it was the first one.
I've won tournaments in 6 decades. Well, that's a long time to stay under the gun, or stay in the heat. And, well, what am I going to do? I like to play golf, I love to play golf, and I even like it more when I play well. But I finally came to a conclusion, well, I can't play with the big boys anymore. My concentration is not good enough. I can't seem to keep it that keen.
People don't realize that the year in and year out of pressure, it does have its toll, and that's why the yips develop in so many people. The nerves just finally kind of blow. That's why you went to side saddle.
We call it, you got the yips, but the English have a better name, the twitches. That is, sometimes when you putt, you might hit the ball 2 times or 3 times. And that happened to me in the PGA. And the very next hole, I turned around and I'd played croquet, and I'd hit a few like that, but never in the tournament. And I turned around, I started putting like this. I won the PGA championship by 15 shots, putting croquet style. And one of the boys said, you know, the next day those boys, old fellas out there, they were just, boy, they were just going at it with a putter. And this way, I found that I can see the line from the ball to the hole better than standing sideways when you putt. This way, you're apt to turn your body and do a lot of manner of things. But as you set a croquet style, you can see the line, and it's right straight back and right straight through.
How many guys would go to what he went to putt, to keep competing? I mean, he went croquet style, side saddle, or, you know, he would do whatever it took to compete. He wanted to win. He wanted to beat everybody.
If you had an idol, he would be my idol in golf. I think he's probably the best player that ever lived, day in and day out. He was winning tournaments before the guys even came out, and he was winning them when they retired.
Lots of players played well for 10 or 12 years, but this man has played well for 50 or more. He won in his teens, his 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and even finished second out here when he was 70. God gave him a very special gift. He was the best golfer that I ever saw.
he knows all about the golf swing under pressure. I mean, you can go to all the famous teachers, and they can teach mechanics, but to teach a man to deal with his swing under pressure is a whole nother ballgame. And they all loved asking questions. He's probably one of the greatest teachers there's ever been when it comes to working with a low handicap player.
I asked Sam one time, I was struggling with my game, and I said, Sam, I know there's a secret. There's got to be something. And Sam was fairly secretive, and he kind of looked around like make sure nobody was there, and he says, you got to turn, Junior. He says, you got to turn.
We played the Diplomat, and I can't remember what hole it was, a long par 4. Pin was on the right-hand side, and we were about 225 against the wind. And I couldn't reach it in 2, and Sam took a driver and hit a high hook off the ground, and I had never in my entire life ever seen anyone do that.
Trevino, he's in New York, and he was on the practice range, and he said, I can't play this course, I can't get the ball up in the air. And he was talking, I said, I know what's wrong with you. Lee said, what? I said, you want to get the ball up in the air? He said, yeah. I said, stay behind it a little longer. Started hitting the ball up and won the Open Championship. I don't think he would have won it if he hadn't changed.
Sam Snead was always the friend of the young pro. Sam Snead used to go to the locker room and change his shoes, and he asked anybody to play. He asked me to play one time, and Bob Golby have taught me a good lesson. He said, when you play with Sam Snead, you play him a $5 Nassau, and you lose $20, but you get a 4.5 playing lesson. He says that's a very cheap lesson to learn.
I've helped quite a few guys on the tour, like Chi-Chi. And he said, what's wrong with my swing? I said, nothing. He said, nothing? I said, no. I said, you know, when you were playing well, you'd hit the ball and then fall over? And he said, yeah. I said, you're falling before you hit it now. And he started hitting the ball. He said, if I win, you get $5,000. He won $350,000. And when I got up to the locker room, here comes the caddy with the check for $5,000. She said, don't cash it for a week. Then we were playing for almost peanuts. Can you imagine now? We have several guys now that are on the senior tour have jets. They're flying in jets now. They own jets. And they're making over $1 million a year. And, well, $1 million a year? Well, I thought I did pretty good. And it took me, I didn't make quite $700,000 in my 100 years on the tour. It felt like 100 years.
His number one priority is golf. I mean, he would play 18 holes every day, if you know, as long as you play for something. Now, he will not go out and play and not play for anything. Now, he'll play with me and help me, you know, play a practice round or something with me, and like a playing lesson, and he enjoys that.
I didn't see anything wrong with that. Was that a little high?
Little.
If you just practice now, hit down on it a wee bit instead of up, you'll find the ball will have a better trajectory.
Yeah.
Future, you're going to hit down on it more now. That was good and solid.
We talk golf course design mostly when we're on golf courses. He's always trying to redesign a hole. He started designing golf courses for the government in World War II. He redesigned a lot of the base courses, in fact built some courses around some of the naval bases and army bases. And then he was involved in half a dozen different courses after the war. And then we started the design business up again about 10 years ago. We want your comments on actually the placement of these hazards.
Well, I think the first hole should be on the easy side. In other words, it's not too difficult, because if you have a very, very difficult first hole and follow that with one on the second hole, people then lose interest.
Dad's philosophy on golf design, which a lot of people are using now, is player friendly, but that's the truth. He always thinks about a guy with a handicap of, let's say, 14. Where's he going to hit the ball in this hole? You know, you want to make the guy happy. At least he wants to have a decent time playing. He doesn't want to lose 12 golf balls and shoot 15 shots higher than he normally shoots. We'll show him the topos, and he'll help with the routing, how he wants the holes to run. Then we will, our architects will draw the holes in large scale where he can see it very easily, and we lay in all the bunkers and the terrains and the green and the tees and etc. And he'll look at that and see what he likes and dislikes and makes his checks and marks on that.
I'd like to see the lake brought back a little bit, give them just a...
He makes anywhere between 3 to 6 trips per course design. It just depends on the distance and how much involvement they want. You know, usually there's press on the first trip. He makes a couple trips during the staking of the course and the rough grading, and then he'll come in and make the final trip where you have the grand opening.
I think is we'll have to get all the fences down and remove the old barns and etc. This great topsoil here, we have to get rid of a lot of this clover. But
where's the 18th green going to be?
Right down towards that tree, but back to the side of it. There's a dog leg left, and it comes up right along over here, and the green's right here. So, and there's a lake.
He gets right in. I mean, it's not, we just don't lend our name and use an architect. I mean, when you get a Sam Snead course, you get the real thing.
Along with their prosperous course design business, father and son are also successful restaurateurs. Jack oversees the development and operation of the casual eateries which bear his father's name. It is Jack's vast collection of memorabilia that serves as the tavern's motif and showcases Sam's legendary life in sport.
I originally started when I was a kid, collecting the magazine covers and all. You know, why not? It's my dad. It seemed like every month there was a publication with his face on it. I mean, for years. And I just squirreled it away. And then I started things he would come in and quit using certain clubs and all. I'd stick them on the bed or do something with them. And he'd get letters from presidents and kings and telegrams from people like Winston Churchill or whatever, and throw things like this away. I'd grab it out of the trash and put it in a drawer somewhere. 1978, here in Hot Springs, the old Bath County National Bank came up for auction. It's probably the best piece of real estate in Hot Springs, commercial-wise. And so I thought, you know, it'd be a great place to put a restaurant. We won the bid, and I had all of this memorabilia on my dad. I thought it'd be great just to display some of this. So we did the tavern, and people seem to really enjoy the memorabilia.
It's not one of those real fancy Dan places, but I tell you, the food is great. It's really great. Bobby Cole, he was from South Africa. We were having a little 5 nasts, and we came to 13's, a par 5 dog leg left, and things were getting a little tight, and I thought I'd better make a little move. I said, Bobby, when I was at your age, I used to knock it over those trees, and I'd have a short iron in for my second shot. And he thought he was gung-ho, and he teed it up, and those trees are about 250 feet high. They're about as tall as you'll ever see unless you go to California, the redwoods. And, well, he let go, and he got about halfway through those trees and filtered down into Ray's Creek. He turned to me, Mon, I can't hit the ball over those trees. I said, Bobby, when I was your age, those trees were about 30 feet high.
This is the Green Briar in White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia. Snead has been pro here since 1936, with the exception of the war when he was in service.
We were called the teaching pros. We had Freddie Martin then was the manager, and he called all the shots. But that's what assistant pro at the club is all about. They teach and then play a little golf and have a lot of fun and don't make too much money. Well, I came over here in 36 and to 38, and I was the lead money winner at 38, and I came back, and I was getting $45 a month, board and room, and half my lessons. And I said to the manager, I said, hey, could you up that 45 to maybe $60 a month? He said, sorry, Sam, we're kind of running in the red. Okay? And I said, well, I'm out of here, I'm on the tour. And then I didn't come back here until then was 47. And I stayed from 47 to 74. And now here I am back again on the 3rd time. I never heard of a person having the same job 3 different times.
I caddied at the Greenbrier when I was 14 years old, selected to be Sam's backup caddy during the summer and weekends whenever I was needed, when he was not on tour with his regular caddy. So it was something, a childhood dream really, because I love golf even back then, and just to be around Sam. I would have carried his bag 18 holes for free.
Sam Snead has become enriched in the tradition of the Greenbrier. The Greenbrier, in turn, is richer for Sam's lifelong association there.
I'm over here almost every week. It depends on what have to do, play, do clinics and things of that nature.
And to the delight of the guests, Sam always makes time for his fans, giving clinics, posing for photographs, and happily sharing the engaging anecdotes that stamp his life in legend.
He's back as a golf pro emeritus now. He's wonderful with the guests. People would come in, where is Sam? Do you know his schedule? When is he coming back? Maybe I can see him. It was just to see Sam, not necessarily to play golf with Sam, which was an experience, but just to see Sam and be around him. He is Mr. Golf at the Greenbrier.
Success has afforded Sam Snead an extraordinary life, but through it all, he has stayed true to his roots. Home is a mountaintop in the rolling hills of Virginia, a stone's throw away from where he was raised. Here, Sam revels in his simple country life, a humble existence for the man whose accomplishments and longevity rival those of anyone in the history of sports.
Some people go out and fish all day and not even have a bite and enjoy it immensely. But being competitive, I like to feel something on the other end. That's it. Nothing don't come in better than that, unless it is win a golf tournament. When I was on the tour and come back here, you could just relax, and I had a lot of friends that would come see me and says, "How in the world did you find this place in here?" I said, "I was born and raised here." And I think wherever anybody's born and raised, they always want to go back for some reason. Well, I guess it's like salmon, they go up the river where they were spawned.
He said, "I've been just about all over the world, but Hot Springs I love more than any place I have ever been in my life." He feels more relaxed there, more at ease. He's in the country, so he's pretty much to himself. I think he's a lot more relaxed. We put up a lot of berries, make jelly, makes a good raspberry jelly, and it's wonderful for breakfast, or put on cornflakes. This one here, now, that's been
He said, "You know, I just don't feel like I'm 84. He said, if the Lord could outfit me with a new set of nerves and I could get my left shoulder fixed, I think I could go out and win some senior tournaments." But he said, I've played in so many tournaments and so much competition and so much pressure all these years that I don't like that taste I get in my mouth on the morning of the first round. He said, "I've had enough of that."
The rose bush, it's just starting to come out. My gracious, they have really come out since 2 days ago. I was out here the other day and they only had a couple of roses out and they were still in a bud, but now they've just popped everywhere.
How do they smell?
I didn't smell it. Rosy. Huh?
He told me one night here at the dinner table that, and he doesn't brag about himself really, I guess a little bit maybe now sometimes because that's what he has to look back on. But he said, "You know, there was a time when I got up on the first tee that I knew there was nobody in the world could beat me."
He's proud of his accomplishments. He really is. And he'll tell you he is. But it's not the way he gloats over them or anything like that, but he's just proud to be the one that did what he did. And I don't think anybody ever reaches pinnacle like that.
If Snead has made $10 or $12 million in golf, he deserves it. Because he has been a fabulous person for golf. His color and his brilliance and his willingness to do whatever is necessary to promote the game. Whatever you think of him otherwise, Snead deserves whatever golf has given him.
I tried to be nice to people, and I played it right to the line. I expected everybody else to do the same. I don't think anybody has had a better life than I've had.
Where's your ball, Mike? Or are you getting hard of hearing?